You are now listening to The Perfect Prana with Kyah Ann. What's poppin'? What's good? You're listening to The Perfect Prana Show on 88.1 FM WCRX, also available on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. If you love yoga, this is the perfect place to be. And if you do not love yoga, this is still the perfect place to be because I have a lot in store for you all today between the yoga news, where I talk about what's going on in the world and how it relates to yoga. Yoga Heals, where I bring on a very special guest and speak to them about their practice, and the Weekly Wellness Challenge, where I've been following the 8 limbs of yoga. But before we get into all of that, let's center ourselves. So no matter what you're doing, no matter where you're at, you're driving in the car, you're sitting on the couch, you're laying in the bed, it doesn't really matter. Let's just take this moment to focus on our breath, to focus on our prana. Prana, translating to breath, is in the breath of life, our life energy force. There's many translations, but no matter what you're doing, go ahead and lengthen out your spine. Create a nice line of energy from your tailbone to your crown so breath can effortlessly move through you. And just start to notice your breath without controlling it and see what it does naturally. And just know that you can always come back to this. Start to gradually deepen your inhales and lengthen your exhales. Let's start by pushing out all of the breath, no matter which breath you're on. Push it all out so you could start a new breath cycle with me and inhale through your nose to fill your belly up like a balloon. And you can exhale. Sigh it all out, push out all the air to deflate your belly. Inhale through your nose to fill all the way up to your collarbone. You can exhale, sigh it all out, releasing all the breath to begin a new one. Inhale through your nose, into your belly, past your rib cage, all the way up to your chest. And then exhale, sighing it all out, no breath left behind. One more time, inhale through your nose, into your belly, filling all the way up to the crown of your head and holding at the top. And exhale, sigh it all out, pushing out all the breath. Expelling what you do not need. Let your breath come back to a steady rhythm. And let's get on with the show. Yoga news. Mistaken identity. Port St. Lucie yoga studio seeing threats after another studio's Trump post. This happened in Florida, of course. Anyways, one studio in Florida made a post about Trump's shooting. I'm sure everybody heard about that at this point. They made a post about Trump's shooting and basically thanking the person that was trying to shoot him and were giving him accolades. And I guess this angered a lot of people. And there's a studio that once had a similar name, and I guess people found that studio and thought that one studio made the post, but really it was another Florida studio with a similar name. So people were sending death threats to the wrong yoga studio. Anyways, it's crazy that people were sending death threats about this anyways. Like, why is this stuff so serious? The owner of the studio that was receiving the death threats, though, said that they would never encourage anybody being assassinated or killed, even if they don't agree with them politically. And that's just not right. And yeah, that's the yogic way to live, I guess, is like no violence, non-violence, of course. So good for her. I just thought that was a funny story and current for the time. So on to the next. Next, LA Fitness parent acquires health club chain Xsport. This has been the talk of the town lately, and I guess I wanted to talk about it because I work at LA Fitness, so I guess if were a member of Xsport, you can now come to my yoga class. If you're in the Chicago area and you're like, okay, I want to practice with her, then you could check me out at LA Fitness on King Drive. Only inviting the cool people, not the weird, creepy people. So if you're weird and creepy, stay away. That's the yoga news. Yoga Hills. This week's Yoga Hills, Sylvia Ewing. She's a teacher, strategist, poet, and non-for-profit executive committed to offering her life skills to help others find self-awareness and success. She's built a career in broadcasting as a popular moderator, producer, and on top of all of that, she's a meditation coach. I'm really excited for this conversation as Sylvia is actually a former professor for Columbia College, so it's full circle. Let's just get on with the conversation. First, I'd like to say, hey, Sylvia, thank you so much for coming onto the Perfect Prana show. I'm so blessed to have you with me today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, and I'm delighted that you invited me. I'm thrilled to know that someone like you is sharing the story of yoga in Chicago and beyond.
Yes, Matt, he definitely talked you up. He told me all about you between being a Columbia College professor in the past and then also just being in the industry of broadcasting in general. I've seen you've had your own podcast going on and you've hosted shows and just done a lot in Chicago. So where does yoga fit into all of that? Like, how'd you start practicing? When'd you start practicing?
I am 67, and I started my practice when I was about 19. But even as a child, I had questions about the narrative and the stories that I heard. And, you can have any faith practice and be a yogi, but it made sense to me. The stories and the approach of mind, body, spirit answered a lot of questions for me at a very early age. I had some folks who were into some of it when I was 19, and I started learning, and I never looked back. And then since 2005, I've meditated every day, and the biggest thing is that it works. It makes every part of my life better and equips me to walk through the world with a level of calm and grace.
Yes. So thank you. So you honestly answered, a little bit of my next question is why do you still practice yoga today? And it, like you said, it makes your life better and it helps you to walk through life with calm and grace. And first, I'd like to say that's very relatable. And it's just very necessary because the world can be so chaotic and we're just constantly thrown so many trials and tribulations. So what better way to handle those things than with a little bit of yoga? I'm curious to know, how has your practice with yoga evolved? What did it look like? And what does it look like now?
Thank you for that. When I was younger, it was direct experience. It was a fascination and a love affair with the physical manifestations. And I know that you've talked about on this program the 8 limbs of yoga and the different aspects of it. And so the physical aspects were always very comfortable for me. I was a gymnast and danced when I was younger, and I loved the movement. I loved the mind body connection and the sense of power, peace, and control that gave me. But over time, particularly as I studied more, as I was a disciple of the Temple of Kriya Yoga and had a teacher that said, learn from everyone. The more I learned on the meditation side, the more I shifted my practice and encouraged others to still keep the body connection, but to understand the role of the breath, to understand the role of guided meditation and other things. And so I think over time, I'm able to um, have a practice that strengthens me every day and gives me what I need for any given moment. And if that's recovering from health or pain or knee surgery, if that is, like many of us, the uncertainty with elections and things like that, or if that's just getting ready for a meeting or hosting something on television, um, I can pull on a tactic from my yoga toolkit to help me in that moment.
So I know that you've steered more toward meditation, which is an aspect of yoga and an important aspect. And a lot of times when we think meditation, we think, okay, you're sitting still, essentially. Could you talk a little bit about the importance of meditating and sitting still is just as important as the aspect of all these yoga asanas that are like a lot of movement and very hard.
Well, sure. And they are not different because the way that you use your breath, when you do the very traditional hatha, um, like we're in a world where there's so many types of yoga and competitions and there's different aspects, but the most at its core, the breathing in, aware that you're breathing in, the breathing out, aware that you're breathing out, the doing the asanas in a way that allows your breath to guide the movement. It is very connected. So I'll just add that it is very meditative. But then there's a form of meditation for every personality: walking meditation, doing labyrinths. Um, some people attune to a visual, an object of beauty, thinking of the most beautiful thing you've ever seen and just unpacking that. Some people do guided meditation. So I think that they're all connected. But to answer the core of your question, stillness is something that makes us uncomfortable at times. And particularly as Black people, I've talked with folks in my practice who say how how far we had come from that stillness. There is always a safety or a comfort of having the TV on in the background, falling asleep with the TV on, having music. And when you are still, you hear the inner voice. And I think the trauma that we have experienced at the cellular level can sometimes make that inner stillness uncomfortable at the beginning. But I sit with some Black Buddhists from New Orleans, and they're all around the country, but primarily from New Orleans. And I like the Buddhist practice of a silent sit because it is renewing and it is a way to both still the mind as well as, in some cases, to observe what comes up. So, there's just so many layers and aspects. I encourage people to have the direct experience of seeing what resonates with them.
Yeah. So this inner voice, like you said, sometimes things can come up that trauma, whether it's something you've personally experienced or something that was just kind of passed down to you. How can you change that inner voice to be a little bit more uplifting versus something that's like, ooh, I don't like those thoughts. I don't like being alone with that.
Well, you're always just one thought away from feeling better. You're always just one thought away from joy. And
You're listening to the Perfect Prana Show on WCRX. To hear the rest of my conversation with Sylvia, search The Perfect Prana Show on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube, where I post extended versions. Stay tuned to hear Sylvia's pranayama, the weekly wellness challenge, and the quote of the week. So before we go, I ask every single one of my guests to lead us through a pranayama of their choice, or just a few cues for the radio.
sure, I'll be happy to do that. And I want to thank you. I am thrilled to see you. I am grateful to you for what you're doing. And as I tell my younger friends, I've got your back to help fix all the things we broke as boomers. I'm ready to sit down, but I've got your back as you fix the world. So, what I invite everyone to do, and wherever you're listening to this, or you can come back and listen another time, but get comfortable, lie down if you'd like, close your eyes, feel safe. I'd like to invite you to listen to this sound as long as you can. Don't be startled when you hear it. It's my gong or my medicine bowl. And follow the sound of my voice. My voice. Here we go. As the sound starts to fade, goes on longer than you think, bring your attention to your breath coming in through your nose and going out through your nose. With your inhale a little shorter than your exhale. Breathing in, aware that you're breathing in, and breathing out, aware that you're breathing out. All is well. And on your next inhale, I invite you to take a deep breath through your nose. Hold it as long as you can until you're almost uncomfortable. And while you're holding that breath, make a fist, tighten your toes, tense up a little bit. Tight, tight, tight. And just before you're uncomfortable, release slowly through your nose. Let go. And in your mind's eye, imagine a triangle or a pyramid. Breathe in up the left side. Breathe out down the right. Breathe in across the bottom. Exhale, going up. At your own pace, following that mind's eye pyramid shape. Nothing to do but breathe in and breathe out. No other thought, no place to be. And as you breathe in, feel the space between your inhale and exhale expand. So when you reach the corners of those pyramids, pause. Let the space between exhale and inhale and exhale grow. Relax your shoulders. Relax the muscles of your face. Relax your tongue away from the roof of your mouth. Feel your organs expand inside your body. No tension, just you and your breath. All is well. You have what you need with your breath. It's there for you. And any calm that you feel now, you can come back to again and again. On your next inhale, take a deep breath. Let it out. Open your eyes and see how you feel.
Thank you so much, Sylvia. I really appreciate you giving us, me in the radio, that practice. Yeah, I love the visual cues. It's just something to focus on because, like you said, we have monkey minds. Our mind, it's so easy to just get lost, but it's always come back to the breath because as long as we're breathing, the possibilities are endless. If we're not breathing, then we're lifeless. So yes, thank you so much, Sylvia. I appreciate you coming onto my show. With that being said, namaste.
Namaste. Take good care. Bye-bye.
Weekly Wellness Challenge. Last week's challenge, aparigraha, non-greed, non-hoarding. That was actually the last yama, and I honestly don't even remember what I said. Like, it's terrible. But I enjoy talking about this stuff every week because at least it puts these disciplines on my mind. I really try to not do more than I need, not to take more than I need, and to live modestly. I'm so far from perfect, and sometimes I do overconsume, as a lot of us do, and it's a work in progress. That's all I gotta say for that. But the yogic way to live is to just take what you need and expel what you don't. And that's why I always say that doing breath work, because it's like, take in the breath that you need and expel it all, because that's the stuff that you don't need. So you can just get rid of that, exhale it. Oh, let's just get on to this week's challenge. If there really will be a challenge this week, it's more so just like, this is what we're going to think about this week. My weeks are challenging enough at this point. This week's challenge, we're on to the niyamas, which is the disciplines for ourselves. So yamas are like how we treat the world and how we relate to others. Niyamas are more so about how we relate to ourselves. And of course, the first yama is cleanliness. You might hear a Christian or something say cleanliness is next to godliness, and I actually agree with that. Being clean is a virtue. Being clean physically, being clean mentally, being clean in what you eat, being clean in your space, literally cleaning your body. Cleanliness protects us. It's sterile. Dirt and grime and bacteria and all that stuff, it gets us sick, and it's just not good for us. So gotta keep it clean. In so many aspects, there's so many ways to think about how we can clean up areas of our lives. I don't know, what do I need to clean up this week? I feel like I need to physically clean up my space. And actually, my yoga is, when I'm able to, is to do my dishes, because they're not done right now. And now that I'm thinking about it, that bothers me. So part of my yoga will be to clean my kitchen up, because it's important. You got to keep a clean kitchen. People don't want to eat from a dirty kitchen. Like, That's embarrassing. I don't have much to say for the weekly wellness challenge. I've just been at work a lot lately this week, and I almost didn't put out a show this week, even though I just had this whole speech last week about how I wasn't going to give up on the show. I still wasn't going to give up on the show. I just was ready to give up on the show this week because, you know, I've been working a lot. So I was like, maybe I'll just put out the show next week and just be like putting the show out every other week. But I'm like, no, I gotta keep showing up even when it's hard. Now, there is a limit to me showing up, and this is actually probably one of the last few of my episodes that I'll put out this summer, and then I might take a little pause, kind of get my own setup and get things together so I can do this more efficiently and at home. So yeah, that's kind of still in the works. Take a breather, but again, I'm gonna stick beside podcasting, but this season might end a little earlier than the other one since it was the summer season. I'm just giving you a heads up now. Before I go, let me leave you with a quote. This week's quote, I picked it from Tao Te Ching. We actually read this in my teacher training, so throwback, and it was from Lao Tzu. And the quote is, it's just a little snippet of it, is, if you overcome yourself, you have strength. If you know how to be satisfied, you are rich. And I chose this just because this week I've been learning about being strong. Like, you know, having to go to work so much requires a lot of mental strength out of me. Physical strength, definitely, because my job is really physical, but mental strength, because it's like, I'm like actually an adult now. Like, life is crazy. And then I just think it's always a good reminder just to be satisfied and to be content and to find happiness right now. Like, I saw somebody the other day saying, like, if you're always chasing happiness, it'll never be with you, or it was something like that. And I really do think it is important to sometimes like find the contentment. Like, there is a balance between wanting more and progressing, but then to be grateful for what you have and for the moment and just who you are in general. There's a nice balance between that. And, you know, I feel like a lot of us are always hopping back and forth, and that's okay. Anyways, that's this week's show. It's been very, very interesting getting here to this point. If you would like to keep up with me, follow me on Instagram at consistently Kyah, consistently spelled with a K. Kyah spelled Kyah. It's where I post all my yoga videos and like what I'm up to and like all that great stuff. Also, check the show notes to see any information about the yoga news, what I talked about. And then also to see Sylvia Ewing. I'll put her information in the show notes if you'd like to see what she's about, get some coaching, connect with her. Anyways, it's been a great show. I really appreciate that I could be here this week. With that being said, may the light and darkness within me bow to the light and darkness within you. Namaste.